Good morning, everyone. Apopka High School welcomes you to Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium for Game 22 of the 12th Annual Earl Graham Metro vs. Florida Challenge, presented by St. Germain Chiropractic and Burn Fat Orlando. It's the event that puts the reputation of the Orlando Metro Conference on the line against some of the most talented programs in the greater Central Florida area. And this morning we welcome as our guests, wearing the green jerseys, visitors on the scoreboard from Lake Minneola High School. They are the Hawks. And wearing the white jerseys, home on the scoreboard, representing the Orlando Metro Conference from Winter Park High School. Please welcome the Wildcats. Let's meet the teams, beginning with our visitors from Lake Minneola. And starting at guard with 6'2" senior number 0, Aiden Adler. At guard, 6'2" senior number 1, Dylan Diaz. At point guard, 5'10" junior number 10, Dakari Francis. At wing, 6'7" senior number 12, Xavier Gordon Summers. And finally for the Hawks at small forward, 6'4" senior number 21, Donovan Rogers. The Hawks are coached by Mr. Ronald Brown in his second year at the helm of Lake Minneola. And now, let's meet the Orlando Metro Conference contender, the Winter Park Wildcats. Starting at guard, 6'3" senior, number 1, Danny Benjamin. At point guard, 6' senior, number 13, Owen Clark. At guard, 6' senior, number 20, Deshaun Fleming. At guard, 6' junior, number 21, Hayden Orsolitz. And finally, for the Wildcats, at guard, 6'5" senior, number 24, Carter Truesdell. The Wildcats are under the command of head coach Stephen Colletts in his 6th year at Winter Park. The officials for this morning's game are from the Central Florida Officials Association here in Orlando. We thank them for their dedicated service to our high school athletic programs and join them along with our participating schools, reminding everyone to make great sportsmanship a part of this and every athletic competition. This game, like all 28 games in the Metro vs. Florida Challenge, is being streamed live on varsitysportsnetwork.org. If you have friends or family back in Minneola, Winter Park, or anywhere in the world who are not able to join us in person this morning, or if you need to step away later today yourself, you can tune in on the Varsity Sports Network app on your favorite Roku, Amazon TV, or Fire Stick device, or from any device at varsitysportsnetwork.org. And we want to welcome those of you who have done just that. Welcome to Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium, home of the Apopka Blue Darters. My name is Mark Barchi, the media director for the Metro vs. Florida Challenge. I'll be joined in just a moment by Neil Fisher of the Apopka Chief as we get our first basket from number 24, Carter Truesdell. And this is, again, game number 22 out of 28. It is the first of 7 games on our 4th and final day here in beautiful Apopka, Florida, as we get a block called against Wildcats number 1, Danny Benjamin. That's his first, and the team's first. So, Neil, I want to welcome you to the broadcast as well. You've been here for nearly all of these games over the course of the Metro vs. Florida Challenge. Going to take us home here with the last 7.
Yeah, once again, thank you, Mark, and as always, excellent job of getting us started from the public address announcer point. And a welcome into you at home. Thank you for joining us. As Mark said, 2-0 lead for Winter Park. Carter Truesdell getting us going at the other end. That's Lake Minneola in the green. And we are tied at 2-2 as the
put back by Donovan Rogers.
So an 11-10 lead for the Metro Conference as we begin this final day. If you're new to this event, the Metro versus Florida, give the deuce to Deshaun Fleming. A nice
Deshaun Fleming adds 2, and we'll pause for a Minneola timeout.
So only a minute in, we get our first timeout. Coach Ronald Brown with his team trailing 4-2. So couldn't be better timing. I was going to go ahead and explain the concept of the event. And it's actually based on the ACC versus Big Ten Challenge as well as the Big 12 versus SEC Challenge. There are 22 teams in the Metro Conference. All the public high schools located in Orange County are a member of the Metro Conference. In each game, a member of the Metro Conference takes on a non-member, otherwise known as the Florida Contingency. And at the end of, once again, 28 games, we total up each side and see who comes out. And our first tray of the day, splash for Dylan Diaz. And Lake Minneola takes its first lead of the ballgame. Back at the other end, no dice. Lake Minneola on the run. They get that ball up quickly. And a couple of baskets now for Lake Minneola. So a 7-4 lead now for Lake Minneola. As we are just underway with the fourth and final day of the 2022 Metro versus Florida Challenge. Lake Minneola looking to extend that lead. They've scored 5 in a row. Just a couple minutes in from the corner, trying to go repeat. Rogers rims in and out, and possession will remain with Lake Minneola. Interception knocked away. Great defense here in the early going, but a bad pass. So, of course, Mark, we've talked about this throughout the whole event. This is the opening regular season game for, I believe, every school. If it isn't, it's their second game. Of course, Winter Park playing in its second game in this event. And you're seeing that as well in terms of the quality. Give the tray to Aiden Nadler. 7 in a row for Lake Minneola.
3 for Aiden Nadler.
And so, good and bad as far as being under the umbrella of the opening game for most of these teams. And there's the pass knocked away, swiped away by Gordon Summers, and Lake Minneola at the other end does not get the initial shot to drop. Held ball, and possession will be with Lake Minneola. Lake Minneola, 7 points in a row. Actually, 8 points in a row. And might be 10, no. Summer Rogers can't get the putback. So, battle among the trees. Lake Minneola keeps possession. It'll be Aiden Naylor throwing that ball in, and a whistle before the throw.
Foul called against Wildcats. Number 24, Carter Truesdell, his first, the team's second.
Inside to Gordon Summer, Donovan Rogers.
Inbound to Donovan Rogers from Aiden Nadler. And we'll pause for a Wildcat timeout, full timeout called by the Wildcats.
Stephen Coletti, see enough. A 10-0 run right now for Lake Minneola. This is the first game of 7 today from Apopka High School on the Varsity Sports Network.
Welcome back to Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium. Coach Colletts wanted to chat things over. As Neil mentioned going into the break, he'd seen enough. Now down 12-4 here early in the first period.
So 5 minutes remaining as Winter Park looking to break that 10-0 streak by Lake Minneola. Lake Minneola going to full court defense, and that's going to pay dividends as they trap along that far sideline. Actually, no, it's a foul.
No, I don't see a foul report. I think it was just swatted out of bounds.
Okay. Yes. So jump the gun. Nonetheless, everything remains the same. Possession is Winter Park's. They rotate it over to the left as Rogers gets over aggressive. And speaking of turnovers, though,
traveling Hawks ball. So, I don't know what Coach Collette's told them during the timeout, but I don't think that was it.
So Winter Park turning the ball over. I believe that was the fourth time now. Lake Minneola getting a couple of bounces, some good luck, but for the most part, they are the team forcing the action. With that 12-4 lead, we approach midway in this first quarter. Rogers having trouble handling that ball. 3 players hit the deck. It'll be held ball, and possession goes back to Winter Park. So that's Lake Minneola's first turnover. And as we mentioned, a turnover has been the bread and butter of Lake Minneola during this 10-0 run. So also talk a few minutes ago, explained the concept of this event, and that is see if the Metro Conference or the Florida Contingency can win more games, a total of 28 this year, the biggest ever, largest number ever. Includes 6 Metro Conference schools playing 6 games, Winter Park being one of them. But another reason on the intangible side is Coach Williams. Of course, he was the creator. This is his brainchild. He's the coach of APOP as well as the director of this event. And he just wanted an event in which Central Florida basketball could be showcased for quality. As Winter Park works that ball to the outside, the tray short, bouncing around, and great job, great idea by Hayden Orsolitz. Bounced that ball off of a Lake Minneola defender. And there's a Winter Park trademark inside going bank.
Carter Truesdell from number 20. Deshaun Fleming.
And so that breaks the 10-0 run. Winter Park desperately needing a stop and some points. Cutting the lead to 12-6. High bank, no dice. Aiden Naylor with the shot. And Winter Park will go back, looking to score a couple buckets in a row now. Move that ball on the perimeter, can't go low was Orsolitz. But beautiful bounce pass and making the bank off the rebound, off the back.
Hayden Orsolitz for 2.
$12-8 now. 2:52 first quarter.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. Sorry about that. There's just not a lot of room up there.
So Lake Minneola will go back to work. And Winter Park goes back to work too on defense. The turnover.
Well, we should have David go back on Wednesday.
And now the trap from Lake Minneola on the far sideline. Loose ball picked up.
Put back from Carter Truesdell. Well, Neola, I guess that timeout was effective after all because the Wildcats are on a comeback here.
Yeah, 6 consecutive points, all by Truesdell. Couple of turnovers as well. Create those points in at the other end, making the withdrawal from the bank.
Keegan's in on the pass to Donovan Rogers.
14-10 lead as we approach the end of the first quarter. Lake Minneola in the lead. And the launch from beyond three-point land, no dice. Doing the Windex work, Dylan Diaz, and he draws a foul as well.
Foul called against Wildcats, number 35. Jake Brillmeyer, that's his first, the team's third.
No dice on that shot. Picking up the loose ball is Danny Benjamin. We come back the other way. Benjamin, top of the key. Winter Park rotating along the baseline. The double team by Lake Minneola in that corner. And they create the turnover. As you say, Mark, one good turnover deserves another. Look like a couple of defensive backs. And at the other end, initiating the contact and getting whacked, Danny Benjamin.
Foul called against number 15, Keegan Zinn. That's his first personal foul, the team's first, and it will send the Wildcats to the line. Danny Benjamin shooting 2.
So a 14-10 lead for Lake Minneola. Benjamin, a chance to cut that in. First free throws of the afternoon of this game. Benjamin, 6'3" guard / forward. Unable to drop that first free throw. Second free throw, nothing but net. Cuts the lead to 14-11. First of 7 games today, the last 7 of the 2022 Metro versus Florida Challenge. Long range from number 0, Devin Lattimore. He's
good box out work by Winter Park.
So back the other way we come.
Loose ball picked up by Diaz and then promptly turned over again. Right under the basket. Can't get it to go there for Brillmeyer.
That was Zegan Zinn who got just enough in the way to upset the timing in the angle. And at the other way, a foul as well.
Foul called against Jake Brillmeyer. That's his second, the team's fourth, and it will send Dylan Diaz to the line, shooting 2.
So Diaz at the line, scored 16 points last year, point per game, 4.2 rebounds. From the line, Diaz is a 68% free throw shooter. And the lead now up to 18-11, 16-11 as we reach the end of the first quarter. A 10-0 run by Lake Mary, the difference. Opportunity to increase that lead now for Lake Mary heading into the second quarter. Rogers drives, kicks the ball out, 10 seconds. And great defense from Winter Park. So Winter Park now with the opportunity. Soft floater, no dice, bouncing around. And nobody's going to pick that ball up before the end of the first quarter. And that leaves us at 16-11 at the end of the first quarter. Again, 10-0 run midway through by Lake Minneola, the difference. This is the Varsity Sports Network.
Welcome back to Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium, where we are at the start of the second quarter here in game 22. We've been doing this all week. Obviously, we took a day off for Thanksgiving Day, but this is the fourth and final day of the 12th annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge.
And Lake Minneola begins this quarter with possession in a 16-11 lead. Lake Minneola representing the Florida contingency, Winter Park representing the Metro Conference. The Metro Conference with the 11-10 lead beginning today. Battle goes all the way out to the free throw line. Lake Minneola gets it, no dice. Ball rattles around. And possession will be Winter Parks.
Green 21. Hayden, you're on the wing on defense. Danny's middle.
Push is called against Hawks number 21, Donovan Rogers is first, the team's second.
So Winter Park with possession. 16-11 lead for Lake Minneola. The spin and the tip. Devin Lattimore, now he runs into some trouble and contact. Whistle.
White one, white one.
Wildcats foul called against Danny Benjamin, his second, the team's fifth.
So as you just heard Mark say, that's Mark Barchi, the public address announcer. 2 team fouls now on Lake Minneola. The kick out. Soft floater, won't drop.
White 13.
Gordon Summers with the attempt, but the
Foul
foul
called
on the
against number
rebound.
13, Owen Clark. That's his first. Team sixth, and it sends the Hawks to the line. Number 12, shooting two. So Xavier Gordon Summers at the line. No points for him as of yet, looking for his first. And he gets it.
Gordon Summers, a 54% shooter last year from the free throw line.
Second one rims out, and now the Hawks will enjoy bonus for the remainder of the first half. Ryan Peterson comes into the game for Lake Minneola.
As the score remains at 17-11. Minute 15 into the second quarter, a 10-0 run put together by Lake Minneola in the middle of that first quarter. The difference right now, Winter Park looking to cut into the lead. They've steadied the ship since that run, and great rebound from Fleming, keeps it alive. The pass to Benjamin, he can't get the tray to drop. And on the move is Rogers. He takes the pass, but traveled.
Hatcher Nordquist comes into the game for the Wildcats. Swing action for the Wildcats as we dip under 6 minutes remaining in the half. Finally coming into the paint, and we're going to get some contact. Foul called against Hawks number 13, Alvin Colbert, his first, the team's third.
That's Fleming inbounding the ball. Great one-step motion. Score the deuce for Truesdell.
Truesdell on the basket.
Back to 4 points now for Lake Minneola from the corner. Drain the rain.
3 for Ryan Peterson. Foul called against Donovan Rogers. His first personal foul, the team's 4th.
5:34, second quarter. 20-13 lead for Lake Minneola, representing the Florida contingency over Winter Park, representing the Metro Conference. As the battle continues to wage on. The spin and dropping in the soft floater.
Jake Brillmeyer.
Back the other way. Long rebound corralled initially by Ethan Isom.
Held ball, possession, Wildcats.
That was Orsolewicz who got a hand on that ball and tied it up, forcing the possession. Making the withdrawal off
Jake
the pass, Freiheimer.
Brillmeyer.
.450 remaining before halftime. First game of 7 today from Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium on the campus of Popka High School. Looked like we were going to have another tray. Did not drop, rattled in and out. Windex work by Winter Park. They continue to hit those boards. And now they'll set it up, swinging it down low into the corner. And a foul.
Foul called against Alvin Colbert, his second, the team's 5th.
As you heard Mark say, Colbert with the individual foul, the 5th on the team. That's Lake Minneola.
Owen Clark back in for Winter Park.
Back up to the top of the key on the inbound. Brellmeyer, one-on-one, passes it off. High bank, no dice. And doing Windex work is Peterson. Over to Diaz, who sets the offense. Now down low into the big guy. Kicks it back out to the top. Nadler unable to drop the deuce. But Lake Minneola gained the offensive rebound. And a third opportunity. And they won't get a fourth. Ripping the rebound down is Brillmeyer. 4 minutes before halftime. Winter Park can cut that lead, but Lake Minneola's defense stiffens.
Traveling, Hawks ball. Danny Benjamin and Deshaun Fleming back into the game for Winter Park.
Underneath, Rogers with the move, can't get the ball to drop, rolls off. And back the other way we go. For Winter Park, a second opportunity, cut into that lead, even tie it, which is what they decide to do, and success.
3 for Owen Clark. And it's a new ball game, 20-all. As we get ready to dip under 3 minutes to go here in the first half.
So Lake Minneola led for most of this game after a 10-0 run. Now Winter Park on their horse. No foul called. Clark leading the charge for Lake Minneola at the other end. Splash!
3 for Dylan Diaz.
So Lake Minneola, just as quickly as they gave up the lead, retake it, 23-20.
Wildcat layup for number 22, Tyler Harrington.
Lead back down to 1 point. And we've been going back and forth for a couple of minutes now. First game of 7 today from Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium, Apopka High School. The spin, wild shot. That was Clark. And at the other end, the drive and the withdrawal from the bank +1.
Alvin Colbert gets the basket and a chance to make it a three-point play. The foul is called against Wildcats number 24, Carter Truesdell, his second, and the team's 7th.
So Colbert will go to the line. Opportunity to get that lead back up to 4 points. So Diaz averaging 16 points last season. And he will not drop that first, but Windet's work. Great rebound by Colbert. And gives Lake Minneola another chance. Nice passing on the perimeter. Clark slides in and on the hop makes the withdrawal from the bank.
Alvin Colbert for 2.
So best possible situation off the missed free throw. Getting the 2 points instead of 1. And that ups the lead at 27-22 as we approach halftime. Lake Minneola, 10-0 run is the difference right now. They've scored 5 in a row as well. Currently, could be 7. Clark ripping the rebound down. Into the corner, Colbert, wild shot. Nothing but air. And so Winter Park dodges a bullet there. Lake Minneola making it easy for Winter Park to regain possession. They continue to move that ball around the perimeter. Less than a minute now from the three-point range. Benjamin unable to find rim and out down the other way. One of the Wildcats, one of the Winter Park players, hits the deck.
Player control foul is called against Alvin Colbert, his 3rd. The team's 6th that turns the ball over to the Wildcats.
So Wildcats with 45 seconds remaining in the first half with possession. Into the middle. Loose ball picked up. Down to 30 seconds now. Trey does not drop for Fleming, and Lake Minneola with 20 seconds are going to take the ball out, extended left, and set up for the last shot. Diaz with possession, comes into the middle. 10 seconds. Battle underneath. There's no rim caught. 6.7 out of bounds. Winter Park ball. So Lake Minneola decides not to wait to the very last minute. They attack with 10 seconds remaining. And Winter Park up to the challenge. Double team on Diaz's drive. And they'll have 6.7 seconds to work with. Gotta get the ball up quickly. The bench counting down the time. 3, 2, 1 from the corner. And splash!
3 for Hayden Orsolitz. And that takes us to halftime. It also takes it back to a 2-point ball game. 27-25 is your score at the end of the second quarter here in game 22 of the 12th annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge, presented by St. Germain Chiropractic and Burn Fat Orlando. We'll be back with more from Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium in just under 10 minutes. Welcome back to Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium, home of the Apopka Blue Darters, where we are ready to get started with the second half of Game 22 here at the Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. The Hawks have the opening possession of the second period. And we are underway, and for a moment it looked like this one was maybe going to become a runaway, but then Winter Park said, wait a minute, not so fast, and they actually had it to a tie as we get the first basket of the second half by Alvin Colbert. 6 points for him so far today. So in any case, Winter Park had it up to a tie. Lake Minneola pulling ahead there just a little bit at the end of the half, but we've got a tight ball game here to open up our Saturday festivities. This is day 4 of the Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. 7 games each day over 4 days for a total of 28 games, and this is number 22. Hawks have a lifetime record of 2-3. Wildcats have a lifetime record of 6-5 over the 12-year history of this event. Hawks looking for some opportunity to get inside. And nothing there. Rebound goes to Danny Benjamin. We go the other way. Inside penetration has been a struggle for both of these teams. Good defense combined with early season jitters on the offensive formations. Again, for most of these teams, as we mentioned during the first half, this is their first regular season game. Many of the participants in the Metro versus Florida Challenge did preseason classics last week, but of course this is a holiday week. Most schools have been out all week. As we get the putback attempt there, that's not going to fall. And we're going to get a held ball, possession Wildcats. So the Wildcats will take over with the possession out of bounds. And we are going to get a block. Tyler Harrington is called on the block, his first, the team's first of this half. Just not quite able to get his feet planted quite quickly enough. We'll get those fouls cleared from the first half. There we go. And we're going to pause to clean up the floor here. A lot of sweat going on for 11:46 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And now we're going to get back-to-back fouls for the Wildcats. Hold is called against Carter Truesdell. That's his third, the team's first of this half. Checking into the game for the Wildcats, number 20, Deshaun Fleming. And now 3 consecutive fouls for the Wildcats. Foul called against number 13, Owen Clark, his second, the team's third. This is, of course, year number 12 of the Metro versus Florida Challenge. We had to skip it 2 years ago because of COVID. We came back last year, and now we are back in full swing. Team control foul is called against Dylan Diaz. That's his first, the team's first, and it turns the ball over to the Wildcats. So now finally, after 3 ill-conceived moves in a row by Winter Park as they racked up some fouls, now the Hawks finally flinch, and Winter Park will get a chance to try getting the ball down to their end of the court. This is Mark Barchi, the media director of the Metro versus Florida Challenge, joined by Neil Fisher of the Apopka Chief and Varsity Sports Network, bringing you coverage of all 28 of these games live on VSN.
So the score remains 29-25. Lake Minneola has led for most of the way. That ball rims in and out. A 10-0 run produced by Lake Minneola midway through that first quarter, the difference. Winter Park's made some inroads, but never able to sustain. They've gotten the lead down to 4 a couple of times. Actually, it was 2 points at halftime, but they have not been able to get that next basket, which ties the game up.
Owen Clark is called in his third personal foul. It's the team's fourth, and this one will send the Hawks to the free throw line. Dylan Diaz shooting 2, but first, 30-second timeout called by the Wildcats.
So correction, actually they've not been able to get that second consecutive basket, which puts them in the lead. We were tied at 20-20 with about 2.5 minutes before halftime. But a 27-25 lead. at halftime for Lake Minneola. And now 29-25 with 5:11 remaining in the third quarter.
So 2 timeouts used for the Wildcats, just 1 for the Hawks, and now we get to those free throws that we were promised a moment ago. 8 points so far for Dylan Diaz, trying to make it 9, and he does not. Get one more chance.
Of course, mentioned earlier, Diaz averaging 16 points last season. And for many of these teams, I would say, as far as I know, all of the teams, the games this week during this event are the first of the regular season. Of course, Winter Park playing its second game in this event.
Yeah, not a lot of teams play twice, but it is sometimes necessary to fill out the field. And
yeah, this year there's actually 6 Metro Conference teams playing 2 games.
That'd be Apopka, Dr. Phillips, Lake Buena Vista, Lake Nona, Windermere, and Winter Park. The 6 teams that are playing 2 games. That's why if you look at the records, you would expect all of them to add up to 12 when you look at the lifetime records, but that's not always the case. Sometimes, every once in a while, Metro Conference School is not able to participate in the event at all because they were, for example, traveling over Thanksgiving to some out-of-state tournament or something like that. And then other times they participate in 2 as we get a foul called against number 12, Xavier Gordon Summers. That's his first, team second.
So this event, which actually began in 2010 at Wekiva, only 15 games and then 16 games, 17 games, and then 20. So you can see a gradual increase. 21 over the next 2 years and 22. 20 over the next 2, and then 23 over the last 2 years, 23 and 24. So certainly the numbers have steadily increased, but again, the first few years, we only had about 2/3 of the Metro Conference teams playing. Now, of course, 28 this year, so certainly, as Mark alluded to, not only do we have enough games for every team to play, but 6 teams are playing 2 from the Metro Conference.
Yes, although that may become less and less necessary over time, as we know that we're going to get a 23rd school in the Orlando Metro Conference before long here, as we get a basket by Danny Benjamin. It's a new school coming, I believe, I'm not mistaken, to relieve Lake Nona down on the southeast side of Orange County, which is hard to believe we're needing that already. Lake Nona's only been around since 2009, as we get a 3 from Aiden Nadler.
And that ups Lake Minneola's lead to 32-27. So again, a 10-0 run midway through that first quarter, putting Lake Minneola ahead. And they've had their ebb and flows in terms of the scoring, but they've always managed to drop a deuce or a tray when they needed to get that point. When Winter Park scored a couple of baskets to cut into the lead.
Now we got some contact. Question is, who planted their feet? He did not.
So coming up next, West Orange representing the Metro, taking on Discovery representing the Florida.
Alvin Colbert is called in his 4th personal foul, the team's 3rd. He has 6 points for the Hawks. And it looks like for the moment, coach is going to leave him in. So 4 fouls, still 12 and a half minutes of ball game left.
And a quick history, started telling you about it when we were looking over the numbers. Again, this event started in 2010. It actually started at Wekiva. Of course, right now, the head coach of Apopka High School, 9th year, as that ball rims in and out, and doing Windex work was Truesdale. Come back the other way. Not going to be the other way for long, though, as Rogers takes the pass, and he's fouled by number 15.
Foul called against Wildcats
13.
number 13, Owen Clark, his 4th personal foul, and the team's 5th. And that will send Donovan Rogers to the line, shooting 2.
And so as you heard Mark say, that's the 4th foul on Owen Clark.
So now 4 fouls on
2
one,
players.
Yeah, 1 each.
And so going back to the history of this event, at the time, Coach Williams, as we mentioned, he's now the head coach at Apopka starting his 9th season. This was his brainchild. He was the coach of Wekiva, opened up that school, of course, teaches math.
And that, of course, is how you and I got involved in this, Neil, is because we are the house team there at Wekiva. We started doing this event when it was originally hosted at Wekiva, and then when Scott came over to Apopka and took this event to Apopka with him, we also followed. While we still remain at Wekiva for most regular season games, we do make special appearances at Apopka just for this event.
Think of it as a musical act. We go on the road.
Foul called against Jake Brillmeyer.
Yeah, so I guess you could equate it to a musical act that's been around for a while, semi-retired. We make special appearances. And,
of course, this year we are presenting our live streams as we get a 3 from number 10. That's Hatcher Nordquist.
And that'll cut the lead back to 32-30. And Winter Park again cutting into that lead, on the verge of taking it.
And give Jake Brillmeyer credit there for forcing Carter Truesdell to be the last touch on that as it went out of bounds.
With 2:11 remaining, the question now is, can Winter Park put together a couple of baskets, a couple of consecutive baskets, a couple of possessions with stops on the defensive end?
As I started to mention earlier, this year's coverage, much like we did last year, is presented in partnership with Varsity Sports Network, Bobby Latmore and his team. We've got Robbie on the camera today. Neil and I are your on-air, and I'm doing the directing and producing. We'll have some other personnel switching in and out throughout the day as we rotate through these 24 games. We want to thank Bobby and his team at Varsity Sports Network for giving us a platform to promote the Metro versus Florida Challenge and these athletes and teams that are so very worthy of the exposure. And, of course, providing some personnel and resources for us as well above and beyond what we would normally have to broadcast as Jake Brillmeyer gets his 4th personal foul, the team's 7th. That's enough to put the Hawks into bonus. First, we'll send in Carter Truesdell for the Wildcats, and then at the line shooting 1-1, Jacob Dennis.
So Dennis at the line with still looking for his first points. And still looking for his first points as we drop to 141, third quarter. And Winter Park gets the break it needs. Ball goes out of bounds. Refs determined. Last touch by Lake Minneola. So 2-point lead for Lake Minneola. They're going to have to dig in on defense to keep that lead. Winter Park rotating that ball along the baseline. Kicks it out. Oh, beautiful give and go down that middle, but Fleming unable to drop the deuce. Lake Minneola with just enough of that crowding on the interior to throw off the timing, and so now they'll have an opportunity to get that lead back over one possession, and they do. Splash from Diaz.
For Dylan Diaz. 11 points for him. He gets into double digits on that tray.
And once again, Winter Park cuts that lead to one possession. And they even on 2 or 3 occasions have had the opportunity to take the lead, but Lake Minneola's defense prevails, causing him to take a just off-balance shot, which rolls off the rim, and then they come down at the other end and drop in a basket to get the lead back over to 2 possessions. So Winter Park now looking to cut that lead down to 1 possession, and they keep control of the ball as we drop under a minute. Third quarter, first of 7 games today, and Winter Park unable to connect. That ball sliding over the rim on the heel and then over the rim. 30 seconds, third quarter. I see Coach Colettis about 3 feet to my left, calling out the plays, barking at his team. 17 seconds, 17.9. Inbounding. Benjamin finds Truesdell at the top, who launches. He doesn't drop the tray, but gets the long rebound. Give and go. Beautiful pass down to Fleming, and then 22. And just as quickly, and perhaps even more profound in terms of the impact.
3 for Xavier Gordon Summers at the buzzer, and that will be the last word of the third quarter. It makes it a 6-point ball game.
If it counts, we're getting some discussion, though.
It's a 2 lane. All right, we're going to put up his 2.
And so the refs determine it's a 2-pointer, not a 3-pointer, which makes the lead 5. But nonetheless.
So correction, that is a 2-point basket at the buzzer. Foot was on the line, and so it is a 5-point ball game. 37-32 is your score at the end of the third quarter.
So say nonetheless, though, important points for Lake Minneola. Not only gets that lead back up to 2 possession, but it answers Winter Park, which made a very nice and worthy basket at the other end. 37-32 as we begin the fourth quarter from Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium, Apopka High School.
Welcome back to Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium, home of the Apopka Blue Darters. We are getting started in the fourth quarter, and it's going to start in a good way for the Wildcats. It's number 35, Jacob Brillmeyer, opens up fourth quarter scoring for Winter Park. Takes it back to a 1-possession ball game, and the Hawks have been in the lead for nearly all of the game. The Wildcats had it up to a tie in the second quarter, and they have kept it within shouting distance the whole time. They've never let the lead grow to double digits, I think, Neil. But they have consistently trailed by 1 or 2 possessions. So we'll see if they can remedy that here in the fourth quarter. We've got a couple players in foul trouble as we go into this fourth quarter. Alvin Colbert for the Hawks, Owen Clark for the Wildcats with 4 each as that one bounces out. And we get the rebound to Orsoldas.
Yeah, the biggest lead actually has been 5 points, and that tie was at 20 all, about 2 minutes remaining in the third quarter.
Now we go the other way, layup opportunity, and it cashes it. Alvin Colbert for 2.
And again, every time Winter Park has gotten that lead to 1 possession, they've even had, I'd say, 5 or 6 opportunities to take the lead. Lake Minneola has dug their heels in and come up with a defensive stop, and then on the other end, drained a basket to get the lead back up to 2 possessions. So in the meantime, the battle wages on with the 39-34 score, 6.5 remaining. First of 7 games today from Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium on the campus of Apopka High School. We will be with you all day, 28 games in total. This is the Varsity Sports Network. As we get a close-up of Devin Latimer, he'll be inbounding the ball.
Aiden Nadler there.
Yeah, excuse me, Aiden Nadler. And Elvin Colbert and the Lake Minneola Hawks go back to work with an opportunity to get their lead to the largest of the game, and they do. Realizing the opportunity, the deuce for Gordon Summers. So, of course, Winter Park playing in its second game for this event. At 28 games is the largest ever.
Number 10, Hatcher Nordquist waits his turn for 2. Nothing at the other end as the Hawks try to make something happen in transition. Now we go right back to the Winter Park side.
And Stephen Colettis, the Winter Park coach, just took off his jacket. So he's getting serious now. 5.5 remaining. Winter Park working on the Lake Minneola Hawks defense. And Colettis calls a timeout. Wants to talk over to his team, facing their largest deficit of the game at 7 points.
30-second timeout called by the Wildcats. Back with more from Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium in a moment. Welcome back to Apopka High School. 5.5 to go here in the fourth quarter. And we've got a 5-point lead for Lake Minneola. They have never gotten that lead higher than 7, as they did a moment ago. And so Winter Park has kept it close, but has never managed to take the lead since the beginning of the game. And third try is not a charm for the Hawks, but they will manage to keep possession as the ball rolls out of bounds off of Truesdell.
Coming up next will be West Orange representing the Metro Conference, and they'll be taking on Discovery representing the Florida Contingency. 5.5 remaining. As Mark said, this has been an entertaining game. The largest lead that Lake Minneola has been able to accrue, 7 points. It's been between 3 and 5 for most of this game. Lake Minneola put together a 10-0 run midway through that first quarter, and that's been the difference. And now Nadler picks up that loose ball after swiping it away, charges. The assault will result in a foul and a trip to the free throw line.
Foul called against Carter Truesdell, his 4th, the team's 8th, and that will send the Hawks to the free throw line. Aiden Nadler shooting 2. So now we'll have 2 players with 4 fouls on the Wildcat side. First one connects.
So Nadler at the line.
And both Clark and Truesdell will stay on the court with 4 fouls. Of course, when you've only got 5 minutes left in the game and you're down by 6, I guess at this point you go for broke.
So Nadler on the Lake Minneola varsity squad first season.
Taking it up to a 7-point advantage, tying the biggest differential they've had of the game. Nice inside pass, but it's stripped away by Nadler on the way up, and Wildcats will have to try again.
So with 4.5 minutes remaining, we're getting down to crunch time. Proverbial crunch time as a whistle by a referee. And that's Benjamin, number 1, who's limping.
Number 13, Alvin Colbert, is charged with his 5th personal foul. He'll retire from the game with 8 points for the Hawks.
And so mentioned Benjamin came out of that play with a limp, but it looks none the worse for the wear. Walking off the injury. And Lake Minneola will be in double bonus the rest of the way. 8 fouls on Winter Park.
Nice inbound, not able to convert. Second one rolls in. Carter Truesdell adds 2 for the Wildcats. 10 points for him this morning and this early afternoon. And it cuts the Hawks lead back to 5. Still very much a winnable game for Winter Park. They just need to get some unanswered baskets, which so far they have not been able to do. They've been able to go possession for possession most of the way through. They just haven't been able to get any unanswered points, as we're going to get a Hawks timeout now. Lake Minneola requests a 30-second timeout.
A 10-0 run midway through that first quarter. Lake Minneola putting together the run is your difference. As Mark said, they've been going possession for possession, but 3, except for the 3, during that 10-0 run. So that takes us to 43-38, 4 minutes remaining, the first of 7 games being broadcasted today on the Varsity Sports Network from Apopka High School. Back to live action with 4:06 remaining. The Lake Minneola Hawks with possession. They're in the green uniforms. Representing the Florida contingency, a 43-38 lead over the Winter Park, representing the Metro Conference.
A little soccer action coming in there from Tyler Harrington.
I'm Neil Fisher. The other voice here is Mark Barchi. Thank you for joining us on this holiday weekend. And now a 9-point lead as that ball slides in.
Ryan Peterson adds 2 for the Hawks.
Largest of the game for Lake Minneola.
That'd be a 7-point lead now.
Excuse me, 7-point lead. So 7 points is the largest lead of the game.
Foul called against Ryan Peterson. His first, the team's 6th. You saw him tap his chest there as soon as the whistle was blown. He knew, yep, that was me.
4th time in this game that Lake Minneola has had that 7-point lead. Got a good turnout for the first game of 7. Game started at 11 o'clock, about 200 fans in attendance. And the ball swiped away on the bounce by Nadler. Bounce pass over to Diaz, who makes the withdrawal from the bank.
Nadler to Diaz for 2.
And
now you have that record 9-point difference that we haven't seen yet today.
Couple of baskets from Lake Minneola. Contact, no foul on that baseline. Winter Park continues to operate. The spin, can't get the withdrawal to drop. That was Fleming. And doing Windet's work, pulling down that loose ball under the basket is Rogers, and he draws the foul.
Foul called against number 20, Deshaun Fleming. That's his first personal foul, the team's 9th. And that puts the Hawks into bonus. At the line, shooting 1-1 is number 21, Hayden Orsolitz.
And both teams in the bonus now the rest of the way. Opportunity to get the lead up to double digits for the first time today. That will not happen, so Winter Park dodges the proverbial bullet. And they'll go to work, see if they can take advantage, turn that opportunity into fruition, and yes, they do.
Danny Benjamin adds 2 for the Wildcats. That cuts it back to 7. 3 minutes to go here.
4-point swing. So certainly, if Winter Park is able to pull this victory out, that'll be a key moment. So far, though, Lake Minneola has answered Winter Park every time they need to. That will not be a basket. Pulled down by Benjamin, who gets on his horse, and at the other end, contact with 2:34 remaining. Benjamin still on the ground.
Foul called against number 12, Xavier Gordon Summers, his 2nd, the team's 7th. We'll pause here as Wildcats slow to get up.
Now that's Benjamin, who of course initiated the contact and drew the foul. 47-40 lead, 2:34 remaining. Lake Minneola with that lead. They have led for the majority of this game. With about 4 minutes remaining, they began a 10-0 run, and that's your difference. As you can hear the crowd.
Danny Benjamin shaking up on the play. He makes his way off with the assistance of our training team.
So now I believe the rule, Mark, is that the coach can put in any player he wants to shoot the free throws. Benjamin would have been shooting the free throws, as you just said, though. He takes a seat on the bench with that injury. Benjamin with the drive on the right side of the lane to draw the contact.
Yeah, so the shooter can't be one of the 4 other players who was already on the court. It has to be the player who subbed in for Benjamin, which in this case we have checking into the game to shoot the free throws in place of the injured Benjamin is number 10, Hatcher Nordquist.
Okay, so indirectly the coach can choose any other player not on the floor. Of course, as you said, Mark, it has to be a direct substitution, which means the player who's shooting the free throw stays in the game.
And he hits the first.
Cuts the lead back down to 2 possessions. As we mentioned, this has been a game of Winter Park getting a couple consecutive points, cutting into the lead. On the verge of presenting a challenge to Lake Minneola, but Lake Minneola answering and cutting off that challenge ASAP.
And I mean, Neil, it doesn't happen often, but you and I have both definitely seen it happen where one team leads for 31 minutes of the game and then still doesn't necessarily take away the win, as Dylan Diaz adds 2 on the stolen bucket for the Hawks, and will pause for a timeout. Lake Minneola requests a full timeout.
2:12 remaining, and we'll see if Winter Park can, after all game, attempting, finally be able to cut into that lead and get a lead, scoring a couple consecutive baskets when they need to.
Welcome back to Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium, home of the Apopka Blue Darters, and at least for the next couple of minutes here, host to the Wildcats and the Hawks. It's been the Hawks on top all day. Their lead has fluctuated between 0 and 9 points. Right now, it stands at 7, as the Wildcats will have 2 minutes to try and see if they can finally come up with a couple of unanswered possessions.
So I'm sitting about 3 feet from the end of the Winter Park bench, and during that timeout, as that shot does not drop, key rebound, Rogers ripping it off, Windex work. I could hear Coach Coletis, who is now in his 6th year. I don't think he was talking much about strategy or tactics. It was just urging his team to play harder, more intensity, and certainly that's what he was looking for. Score the deuce, the withdrawal from the bank by Benjamin after the long pass.
Danny Benjamin steals 2, or is in transition for 2 for the Wildcats, and now Winter Park requests a full timeout.
5-point lead. Opening up the gym before they went to class, but he also handled most of the organizational and logistical duties that a head coach needs. And in short, no team and no individual coach can be extremely successful without that kind of a coach. The man who's willing to sacrifice the limelight, so to speak, the attention for the good of the team and the individual that he's working with. But more importantly, as we get a foul.
No, that's a backcourt violation.
Backcourt violation. Either way,
Wildcats
it's a turnover.
fall.
Turnover, and that's what Winter Park's been looking for. Coach Graham also was instrumental in really setting up thousands of young men and women to be able to go on and lead productive lives, one of those mentors who are invaluable. So that's why this event now has his name, as well as the most valuable players. Stick around at the end of this game. Mark will be announcing the MVP. In the meantime, the drive, the basket,
and one for Danny Benjamin. Foul called against number 0, Aiden Nadler. His first, the team's 8th.
So with 1:22 remaining, lead cut down to 1 possession, 3 points. Benjamin driving that lane and drawing the foul.
9 points total for him. He has an opportunity to make it 10 here and to cut it to as little as a 2-point game.
And, of course, we've mentioned throughout this game, that's been the trend. Winter Park being able to get that lead, make that play to put him in position to take the lead. And now they need to come back at the other end and come up with a defensive stop. That foul, of course, would have been invaluable, cutting the lead to 2 instead of 3. Of course, still a 1 possession, but a little bit more room for Lake Minneola to work with at 3 points instead of 2 as we drop to 1 minute. This is the 2022 Metro versus Florida Challenge. The Metro Conference leading 11-10. Varsity Sports Network, thank you for joining us on a part of your holiday weekend. Double team for Winter Park. They need the turnover. They will not get it, but they do force Coach Brown to call the timeout with 51.2 seconds remaining.
Full timeout requested by the Wildcats, their final timeout. So we'll take this opportunity to remind you what the Metro versus Florida Challenge is all about here. I'll put up the complete list of Orange County Public Schools. These are the 22 members of the Orlando Metro Conference, presented here in chronological order. And Winter Park is actually the second oldest of any of the schools at least that you can trace with direct lineage. Obviously, Boone and Edgewater have a little bit more of a complicated history where they came from other schools. But in terms of continuous operation, Winter Park, the second oldest school, second only to Jones in terms of the 22 schools that make up Orange County Public Schools, at least 22 for now. We fully expect that number to grow over the next several years as more schools get introduced to this county, but they are the home team in each contest. And, of course, one of the schools at either a private school or a public school from outside of Orange County will serve as the visitor in each contest. And then we keep a sort of unofficial tote board.
Yeah, and just quick here as we come out of the break, 49-46 lead for Lake Minneola representing the Florida contingency over Winter Park representing the Metro Conference.
Swatted out of bounds. But all ball, no contact on the arm there, so it won't be a foul.
In each game, a Metro Conference member takes on a non-member of the Florida contingency as there's a loose ball. And at the end of the 28 games, we add up the totals. There's the turnover Winter Park needs. Loose ball picked up at the other end. And picking up that loose ball, who also was part of the defense, forcing the turnover, Tyler Harrington. He gets on his horse, drives, and gets whacked, drawing the foul.
Foul called against Dylan Diaz, his second, the team's 9th, and that will send the Wildcats to the free throw line. Number 22, Tyler Harrington, shooting 2.
And so, obviously, both these free throws need to drop for Harrington. They still need to get a stop with 30.4 seconds left. But, of course, the free throw is the first order of business.
Now that missed free throw from the last opportunity at the line suddenly becomes so consequential.
1 of 4. That's 3 points left on the table. And guess what? It's a 2-point deficit. Lake Minneola trying to take off time. And Winter Park's going to have to foul. And there it is. And I could hear the Wildcats bench calling out the foul. Not sure if the players understood the situation. About 7 seconds went off. That's not a terribly lot of time, but when you compare that with only about 25-26, that certainly is consequential.
Third foul is called for Danny Benjamin. It's the team's 10th. Double bonus coming up as the penultimate timeout is used by Minneola. It leaves the Hawks with 1 timeout remaining and the Wildcats with none. 49-47 your score with 19.5 seconds remaining. 19.6 seconds remaining in the ball game. Back with more and an exciting conclusion in a moment.
49-47 lead for Lake Minneola Hawks. They represent the Florida contingency over the Winter Park Wildcats representing the Metro Conference. 19.6 seconds left. First of 7 games being played today at Joe A. Sterling Gymnasium on the campus of Apopka High School. 11-10 lead for the Metro Conference. Thank you for joining us, spending a part of your holiday weekend. And at the line is Aiden Nadler, gets that lead back up to 3 points. So obviously a critical free throw opportunity to get that lead to 2 possessions. You can hear the Winter Park faithful trying to distract them. No dice, though. 2 of 2. And so Winter Park got to go for the 3 with only 15 seconds remaining. Nope, they go for the 2. That will not drop in. Scramble picked up by Benjamin. He launches off the heel and skying for that rebound, grasping it out of the air. Ryan Peterson, the 6'2" senior wingman, coming up with the most important rebound and drawing the foul.
Owen Clark is called with his 5th personal foul, and he'll retire from the game with 3 points for the Wildcats. The Hawks continue into double bonus at the line, number 5, Ryan Peterson.
Peterson at the line, as Mark just said, with 5.2 seconds. Important free throws. Pretty much, if he connects both of these, that puts the game out of reach, secures the victory. Not quite a done deal, but about 99%. Winter Park would need to get 2 3-pointers and then also a quick stop, somehow get the ball back. But most importantly, part of that last sequence was the rebound, Peterson pulling it down and shutting the door on Winter Park's opportunity to tie the game. So goes back, looking to get that lead back up to 5, and he does. 5.2 seconds. Winter Park's got to get that ball up quickly and launch a tray. There's the tray from Benjamin. And even if it went, just not enough time. So, a three-pointer.
That takes us to the end of the ball game. And the Wildcats never let the game get more than 3 possessions away. But it does ultimately come out with a 5-point victory for the Hawks. 52-47 is your final score here in game number 22 of the 12th annual Earl Graham Metro versus Florida Challenge. And before we move on to game number 23, we have some hardware to hand out. Coach Earl Graham influenced the lives of thousands of young men over his 40-plus years as a coach in Central Florida. For 15 of those years, he worked as an assistant coach alongside Apopka head coach Scott Williams, the last 7 of which were right here at Apopka. The Metro versus Florida Challenge honors the legacy of Coach Graham by awarding our game's most valuable player with a plaque in Earl's name and image. And there are several great candidates for the MVP award in this game, but we'll give it to the leading scorer for the Hawks who led them to victory. The 6'2" senior guard with 15 points in the books for game 22, number 1, Dylan Diaz. So congratulations to the Hawks. That will even up the score. We're now at 11-11. 11 wins for the Metro Conference, 11 wins for the Florida teams. And we will then see if we can break that tie. Coming up next, West Orange takes on Discovery, the number 8 team in 4A, according to SourceHoops.com in the preseason rankings. We'll see how that one shakes out, both here in person at Joe Sterling Gymnasium and online at varsitysportsnetwork.org. We'll be back in about 8 minutes to call that game right here from Apopka High School.